Des, does Avatar pass the Bechdel test?
Yes, it does. We have several scenes of Neytiri interacting with other women, including Ronal, who Kate Winslet plays, the pregnant
Hmm.
free diver from the tribe. We also see her interacting with Varang, who is her op. She also interacts with Kiri several times, and they all talk about different things. They talk about Ewa, they talk about their fights to save each other. In the case of Ronald, Neytiri and her talk about their babies and the grieving process. Actually, I'm not sure if her and Varang properly talk. Okay, they do, because when she comes
They
to
do,
save Jake, they have a
yeah.
little back and forth before they start
But aren't they
tussling.
talking about a man though? So maybe that doesn't count.
No, but I feel like even aside from them talking specifically about a man and where is Jake, there's a bit of like, I don't fuck with you conversation that
Mm.
happens between the two of them. But either way, even if it doesn't pass through that pathway, it definitely passes through Neytiri and Ronald talking. I'm not sure if the previous films all pass, but this one does.
For all of my criticisms of this film, one of the things I can't criticize is the interactions between women. As you mentioned, there's lots of different dialogues going on between different women, and also not all of them are friendly, which I like. Because another thing I don't like is this pretense that women are all, especially in the context of talking about Indigenous women, that completely flattening their personalities and acting like everyone's going to be best friends. Obviously, that doesn't work.
To be honest, I actually think the dynamics between women is more complex and interesting in the Avatar movies than between men in this
Yeah,
one.
I would agree with that actually. Yeah. I agree with that. My standout character of the whole film, again, I don't, as you can tell, I don't really like it, but my favorite person is Varang. I like the
Valid.
fact that she's vicious. I like the fact that she's chaotic. I like the fact that she's also somehow very easily seduced because I don't know why she was suddenly so gassed by
Why
porridge.
why is she thirsting over this 70-year-old white man like this?
The same way how the other ladies, human ladies, are thirsting over him. So poor woman, apparently she had no defenses. I also really like the weird dynamic between Neytiri and Rona as well. And there was something about the scene where Rona gives birth and when Itiri just puts her leg up and she's like, listen, just push. There was something about that which was just so funny. And I would say that like I've probably seen women that would do something like that in real life. Like women who are like, listen, I don't fuck with you, but listen, you need to get your baby out. I don't want you to die. At the end of the day, we need to fight these colonizers, so let's go. There was something about that I actually really did like.
I liked it too. The CGI for that baby was very suspicious, which is crazy considering how much time they spend on the CGI for everything else. But I don't know why that baby was looking like that. I was giving very much wicked for good. But yeah, I also
Hmm.
like the birth scene. I thought it was a bit unnecessary for Ronald to die. But yeah, I liked it.
I will say Kiri again. Now that we found out that she's a deity, I actually don't know what to say about her gender, but let's just say that she's a woman for the purpose of this review. Um,
Well, actually, is she a woman? Considering she's kind of a teenager, but she's also a clone
oh
of a
yeah,
grown adult woman, and she's voiced by a 70-year-old woman.
yeah. But let's just say she counts for now. Again, lots of stuff going on in this film. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like her character. I found
I'm
her to
not a
be
huge
poorly written.
fan.
She's boring, surface level, and like you, I get it that Sojourner Weaver is obviously an older woman, but like I shouldn't have known I shouldn't have felt the uncomfortable nature of the relationship between Kiri and Spider as a consumer watching these like animated objects, and I did. I still felt uncomfortable, so that didn't work for me.
Let's talk about the filmmaker for this film and now who made this segment. We've had a lot of thoughts about James Cameron, but I think it would be great, D, for you to really dive in to this man, why he makes these films, his relationships with these characters, including and especially the female Navi characters, and what you think it reveals about his inner thoughts.
As much as I want to give this film some credit and give it a fair chance when it comes to narrative and stuff like that, I just can't because I've seen James Cameron's comments about his approach to especially the female characters in this film, yeah. So in fact my bigger issue I would say actually is the fact that this is a film that in his words is trying to talk about colonialism, right? And what indigenous people lose when colonizers come in and they successfully take over land, right? And for me, that's all well and fine. But James Cameron is a white Canadian man, and he should have gotten input from people who have that lived experience. And as I've spoken about, there are a few actors on this film in this film who are, I believe they're of Maori descent. But again, it's like this film is drawing from so many different indigenous cultures, evidently. And why wouldn't you? I genuinely don't know. Like, if you know these films are making billions of dollars, why wouldn't you just get that input? It's really, really bizarre for me that he's apparently choosing not to do so. And even if he is getting the input, he's clearly overriding it because this film just feels so off for many of us who are from colonized backgrounds. And I think what feels almost meta about this is that something that never fails to amaze me is the way how certain white people will be very happy to tell the stories of people from other parts of the world without consulting them. And it's like they've never stopped to ask themselves, am I the right person to tell this story? Am I the right person to tell the story without input as well? Right? So right off the bat, I have issues with this film. But then there's another layer to it around what he has said about how he has animated the female characters in this film. Now, it's worth pointing out, obviously, the Na'vi, they're not humans, right? They're not mammals. They're a different species. But of course, the way how they look physically is so clear that they have been designed to get the attention of these weird kind of like people who are attracted to humanoid looking things. And James Cameron has even explicitly said,
Did you
right?
say
So
furries?
yeah, basically. Well, actually, it's not quite the same. During his interview with Playboy, he was asked, how much did you get into celebrating your movie's heroine's hotness? And he says, right from the beginning, I said she's got to have tits, even though that makes no sense because of her race. The Na'vi aren't placental mammals. But he basically goes on to say that in order for the film to be interesting and in order for people to care about the story, the women have to be hot.
But hold on 1 second. Hold on. But you said that he said that even though they're not placental animals, did we not see the
Correct.
childbirth? And it was giving mammalian childbirth?
Anything to make the women attractive, apparently.
So
Because
they
apparently,
have breasts but no nipples.
I guess, at this point. They have, and what I find, like, because obviously we can laugh and joke about this, right? But there is a very serious issue here in that this is sitting on top of a history of indigenous people and indigenous women in particular, and women from colonized regions literally being sexualized and fetishized by colonizers. And here comes this white man making a movie, quote unquote, about anti-colonialism. And he's literally coming to tell us that I have to make these indigenous coded women attractive and give literally falsify breasts on them in order to keep the attention of my audience and so that they can actually care about the plight of these women. That's a horrific message, in my opinion. I don't care for that at all. And I'm just not impressed.
Whew. Should we talk about the perhaps, shall I say, freaky nature of some of the things that are happening in this film? How do you feel about how this film handles sexuality and attraction with the characters, especially when Navi women are involved? Avatar or not Avatar?
So in this film, obviously that mostly pertains to Varang, right? I can't really, well, there's Varang and technically, when it comes to Kiri, I just found that whole situation weird. I didn't see any chemistry between them. It was all rubbish to me. So that one doesn't really apply. What I will say with the Varang Quaritch weird scene is on the one hand, I was like, well, damn, because remember we just watched Wicked and there was zero chemistry between two, I would say, very attractive people in real life. So I'm like, how the hell is this animated film able to show me more chemistry than those two? But I'm gonna leave that one alone.
I'm so interested to see what the performance capture was like between Stephen Lang and Una Chaplin for those scenes between Courage and Varang, because both actors really, first of all, they must have chemistry tested well. But what does it mean to chemistry test well? And then to be performing with all the random dots on your face and the colored tubes. And it translates very well by the time you're rendered into giant 3D blue creatures. It's very interesting.
I think that's a sign of the very good acting from both of them as well, by the way. But yeah, so on the one hand, look, I will concede it. I saw the chemistry. It was a very tense scene. On the other hand, Varang is ultimately a priestess for her tribe, right? She's a very important woman. And Quaritch he's a colonizer. And he's the worst type of colonizer. He's literally embodying the culture he wants to colonize. He's speaking the language. And there was something that really irritated me there in that it was so easy for him to colonize her.
Remember, as the film keeps going on, he keeps on appearing more and more ethnic each time you see him.
Yeah.
Every other scene that you see him, he has added more red face paint. He's put in some liner. He's added some, animal or plant material to his outfit. He's removed more of his clothes. He's taken off the bulletproof vest and the sunglasses. And it just keeps on getting progressively more and more dramatic up to a point, a quite comical point where he walks into one of the labs, like in the human camp, and is in full, like, all the way, he's gone all the way. He's been lost to his babe's tribe. And all the white people are just looking at him like, what's going on here?
Yeah. But here's the thing though, I wasn't mad at it. I've concluded that I'm not mad at it because it is real life. It is.
Yes.
People always think about colonialism in the form of like the hardcore, trucks coming in, taking over land, killing and raping and pillaging. That is one type of colonialism. But if you think about the initial contacts, it's not uncommon to get one of these men going in and trying to find their way to seduce not only women, but also the leaders, whether it's the male leaders or whoever it is, right? And I don't know. I actually think that's quite an accurate depiction.
Yeah, it's giving Killers of the Flower Moon a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it was funny. It was funny, but also true. I think something I also forgot to talk about when we're talking about spirituality and stuff is with Varang's tribe. And another reason I really enjoyed Una Chaplin's performance is, the Mangkwan clan, their origin story, which gets told to us really through exposition when Quaritch is tripping, but it almost kind of works for me because Una Chaplin's performance is kind of hypnotizing, but really it is expositional. They're telling, not showing, which is a huge pity because that would have been a great opportunity to expand the world, show me what their life was like pre and post the volcanic eruption, like show it to me, like demonstrate their culture to me. Understanding why that tribe has become so cynical towards Awa and the other tribes that make up Pandora, it makes sense to me. It is true to life for what happens with real cultures in the world. And I actually kind of found it interesting. If anything, I wanted to understand it more. Unfortunately, apart from Varang, we don't get any of the rest of the Mangkwan fleshed out. We don't really get to see how she interacts with them properly or how they interact with each other. So we don't understand it. Whereas like in Way of Water, you got to meet different members of the Water clan and see how they engage with each other and the differences between their personalities. We did have that moment in the initial fight scene with the Mangkwan when she has that Valhalla Mad Max moment where she shoots an arrow into, I guess for lack of a better word, a suicide bomber who just launches himself. So you can see how devoted they are to anything she does. And that is interesting. But are the writers, are the filmmakers actually that interested in it? Or are they just trying to set up a scene where Quaritch and Varang are tripping and things get sexy as they're exchanging backstory?
Yeah, because as Cameron has mentioned, hot alien chicks, that's what sells movies apparently. And look, the man's right, apparently.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.